I'm so honored to be here. I sincerely mean that. It's so great to be with these poets. I too thought I would try to read a grouping of poems that I guess traces a little bit not only where I've come in thinking about gender in my work, but the things I've learned about my own gender or have been uncovered to me in various interesting ways about being intersex. And so some of the poems I'm going to read are written before I knew that I was intersexed, and so I identified as a butch, which I still sometimes like, about 2 hours a day. So hopefully the movement, a kind of transition of sorts will come through. On the occasion of being mistaken for a man by security personnel at the Newark International Airport. It's like being born again. These metal detectors are like traveling through the womb. The buzz goes off to indicate the birth of trouble. And the gender of trouble matters because when a woman goes through, Jimmy yells, "Female search," and a large woman appears from behind her. So when I walk through and my wallet chain sets off the womb alert, I wait. I wait for female search like I wait for the bus, that hopeful and expecting look. But Jimmy takes me himself. Jimmy rubs his hands down my thighs. When I hold my arms straight out and he traces the outline of my underarms, he makes that face. The face I've seen before, the holy shit, it's a woman face. Pretend you don't notice the tits face. Jimmy's hands change from a tender sweep to a kind of wiping, like he's trying to rid my body of the afterbirth. He is preparing to peel off the skin of my body as he would the apple he brings to work for break time. Jimmy stares hard at the metal detector with a kind of respect, like the arc of it became holy, transformed me on my walk through. Jimmy is nervous for the following reasons. He has just felt the crotch and chest of a woman who he thought was a man. He cannot decide which way he likes her best. His supervisor might notice he has not yelled "female search," which he knows is grounds for some sort of lawsuit. He's angry. His blue uniform makes him angry, so when he's patting her down now, he does it with force. He wants her to feel he is stronger than she is. He wants the metal detector to stop being a gender change machine from which this woman, who is also me, emerges, unties her boots slowly, follows all his directions. And when Jimmy is done, he nods. He wants me to keep him secret, to pretend neither of us had ever been born. And it's interesting, I started writing these poems about mistakes or being mistaken quite a long time ago, and they just keep unfolding in new ways. And something that kept happening, since I was a little kid, and for a while I was like, oh, they must be just lesbians, we look like boys. And and I don't. My parents don't like to talk about it, so I don't know what they thought. On the occasion of being mistaken for a boy by the umpire in the Little League Conference Championship, I had learned quickly how to spit through the jail-like bars of the catcher's mask, so looking back, I can't say as I blame the umpire, who after seeing me spit and punch my glove could only draw one conclusion. You got your cup on, right, son? And almost everyone hears him, and I want my father to stand up like he does and yell, "What the hell are you looking at, bub?" or "Bad call, Blue." But instead there's a hush, and I forget the signs for fastballs, screwballs, and curveballs, and all I can think about is no balls, no little 10-year-old balls to match my spit and mitt punching. My mother pretends to clean up orange peels, and the boys yell from the infield, "It's a girl! We got a girl as catcher!" He doesn't know what to say, so follows up his alrighty with a quick play ball. But I can't squat now. I think everyone is looking at my no balls. They're all watching the girl with no balls. I'm watching her too. She knows better than to cry, so spits again. She learns to live in halves, to, as her father says, save it for the field. She snaps, "What are you, blind on?" and digs her plastic spikes into the fresh dirt. So I think it's after this next poem I'm going to read that you'll notice the poems sort of change and the mistakes change and what is... I mean, that doesn't sound like me at all. I wish it was like, I don't know, Black Eyed Peas or something? I don't know. This poem's called XY. The doctor, who speaks slowly after spending quite a few moments to himself in his gray office, says there is a strong possibility I am chromosomally mismatched, which cannot be determined now unless I pay for the test. Because according to my coverage, the test is not necessary due to the fact that I am out of the danger zone. The danger zone is puberty when, he says, women like me are at risk for developing genital abnormalities. I look back at myself at 13, staring at my body. I think it would have made such perfect sense to me if somehow my clitoris grew like a wild flower and hung its petals between my thighs, which were plumping up in that adult woman way. The doctor is careful with me, knowing how my being XY makes me a bad example of a woman. An XY woman is an X-woman whose blood has been infected by Y, the testosterone rising like a fire in her blood. The doctor looks mostly at his chart. He wants me to disappear, to put back in order his faith in the system of things. He wants me to react correctly, to be ashamed. I sit nervously in the paper robe which covers only the front of my naked body, the cold laboratory air drifting up through the gown, my nipples hardening like the heads of screws. He doesn't know he's given me a second chance at my body. I think about the man I could have been. I make a list of names and settle on Michael, after my father, who did not love me. I imagine the girls in my high school I would have been able to love. Michael could have saved me from all of this, from the sound of my voice, from the years of wearing someone else's skin in the form of a church dress. Michael is the easier version of me. When the doctor leaves me to dress myself, I shove his crumpled up paper gown in the crotch of my briefs. I cover my chest with the eye chart and try to look for Michael. But he is not able to be seen. He is out emptying the trash at the curb. He is in me in that way that a man is in a woman. The most recent collection I have is The Lake Has No Saint, and I'm going to read a couple of poems from, 2 poems from that. They're a bit short. When leaving the house as a man. I was 16 the first time I saw a drag show. It was, as it turned out, my first time in a tie, if we don't count the endless number of times I tried on my father's ties in the master bedroom, pulling each one close to my neck, trying to learn how to loop the fabric, how to become a man. Here in this gay bar off the coast of suburban Long Island, drag queens called me handsome, giggled when I pulled out their chairs and lit their cigarettes. And when I arrive home late, when I try to sneak in through the back sliding glass door, my mother sees me in the suit and tie. She, for a moment, covers her eyes as though I had been naked and not her child. What are you doing? She wants to know. Where could you have gone, dressed like that? When the chalk of androgyny. There was always something about the public bathroom doors. Always the chalk of androgyny sticking in my throat as I'd walk towards the women's room with my mother. Somehow, I knew she wasn't bothered by the stick-figure triangle skirt that indicated the path we were to take, the ways we were to interpret our bodies. But my mother and I do not have the same body. My mother does not read the doors at all. She is automatic in her automatic body. She tugs me in by my small arms and leads me to the stall. Often I have trouble urinating. I ask my mother to sing so no one will hear my body, and she does. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. So I'm going to read 3 newer poems. Let's read 3 more. So you'll see it switch off a little bit here. On the occasion of being mistaken for a woman by a therapist in the South Hills of Pittsburgh. And it's interesting, I've been through a lot of therapy, and I've had so many therapists be like, I'm going to lead this person to accept themselves as a woman, and then so many therapists have like, I'm going to lead you to manhood, and I know that's what you really want, like, and so it's so interesting how we like, you know, not so much like what we choose to do isn't that interesting. I mean, we all just do different things, but the way people project their desires onto what you should want or what you should want to look like is, I don't know, I think it's pretty interesting. Tell me again, she says, how you liked being Hansel in the 6th grade production of Hansel and Gretel. She leans in close. You've told me how it feels to be a man. Tell me how it feels to be a woman. And I remember only how it felt to play the woodcutter's son. The tight grip of the suspenders on my shoulders. Lila Henning's small hands as she played the role of my sister. How she pushed Mrs. Gladys, who played the conspiring candy house witch, into the oven. I was a good Hansel. I practiced making the disappointed face for the moment we realized the birds have eaten the breadcrumbs. It felt wrong to be a woman. Wrong when the barista at the cafe says, have a nice day, ladies. Wrong when my mother calls my underwear panties. Wrong when my hair is tied in pigtails. I do not quite speak the language of women, and the therapist is trying to understand me. She thinks, of course, that I must know what it is like, that somewhere deep inside myself lives the life of a woman, if I would only let her speak. I sit still. I sit like Hansel, locked in his cage. The witch, after all, plans on eating him. If I thought a woman were there, I would go look for her. I am the kind of man who rescues, who thinks to leave a failing trail in the forest. I am the woodcutter's son, unwanted, but finally, after a close call with death, held closely and welcomed home.